Welcome to the Racing Nuggets podcast. I'm PJ Noodleman, and our guest today is Andy Monday. And if you watched that Dixieland 250 or the Ganrude Auto Group 250, you saw Andy took a heck of a wallop during that race. First off, Andy, I was so happy to see you walk away from that, but I felt just awful looking at your car. Tell us a little bit about kind of what happened there and what went through your mind when all of it went down.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably heard this before, but everything happens so fast, you don't really get a lot of time to think about it. So even at the time the incident happened, I really wasn't 100% sure what it all happened. It just happened so quick. Next thing you know, you were turned around going backwards. So we had a really good car. We fired off from the front row, led a ton of laps, had a great battle with Andrew Morrissey. I've known Andrew and raced with him for 15 some years, all the way back to the Wisconsin Challenge Series, and had so much fun running up front. And then we kind of got shuffled back with the fuel and the tire strategy and all that. And we had just made our last pit stop. We had our tires on, we had the tank full, we're ready to go forward. And yeah, the way I understand it is a couple of cars got together in front of Riley Stengem in the 47. He checked up the car behind him, made an aggressive move to get around him, and I was kind of collateral damage. So kind of got whipped around backwards and stuffed into that inside wall, and super thankful for not only soft walls being down there, obviously, but the WIR safety crew did a great job. They were there right away. Yeah, kind of walked away without a scratch, a little bit of a sore neck today with some whiplash, but that's to be expected. So ibuprofen and an ice pack's been my friend today, and obviously cold Busch Light doesn't hurt either. So
You gave a heck of an interview right after that. I was so impressed. And actually, it was when I watched that interview, I thought, I'm going to get that guy on the podcast because usually when something like that happens, you are so emotionally charged and you are angry and you're shouting. And I have never seen anybody so calm, cool, collected, and just real matter of fact about it. And what a positive attitude. Are you always that way when adversity strikes?
well, honestly, I don't think I've always been that way, but I think I've dealt with enough adversity through my life that you kind of learn to let it roll off and go into scream in somebody's window, or I've even rifled a bumper at somebody's car, before. That doesn't get you anywhere. So I mean, really, all you can do is be thankful. The cars are built safe. I'm not hurt, and really, at the time, I didn't fully understand until I saw the replay what had all happened because it went down so quick. So even if I was looking for someone to yell at, I don't even know which car I would have picked to yell at because we were just in a cluster there. But no, definitely try to focus on the positive and help promote the sport. And really, all these guys in the Midwest Tour, even though I don't run a ton of Midwest Tour races, I know them all pretty well because I'm helping Joe Valento spotting. I've spotted for Ty before, Johnny DeAngelis. I consider all these guys friends. And when stuff like that happens on the track, majority of the time it's just hard racing or circumstantial. It's not someone intentionally trying to wipe you out or ruin your day. Majority of the time. So this is my 26th year racing. I don't think if this was my 6th year racing, I would have handled that the same way. So I think that just comes with experience and doing it so long.
26 years. So, can I ask how old are you?
I'm 42, so I
No
started.
way.
Yeah, I started racing in the mini sport trucks here at WIR when I was 17 as a senior in high school, and we did that for 3 years. Moved up to the Pro late models, called limited late models back then. Did that for a few years, and then had an opportunity with Mike Butts actually to get in the super late, and been in super lates ever since. So unfortunately, because of the wreck, we're going to miss tomorrow night, which is probably no surprise to anybody. We only have one car. Super grateful for all the people who have offered cars as well. But I've only missed 3 Thursday nights in 26 years.
Wow.
So yeah, it's tough, but hey, that's racing, and a lot of the locals sometimes make a decision: do I race the Tuesday night in case something like this happens going into Thursday? If you're in the points chase and you only have one car, guys like Chad Butts, Maxwell Schultz, they weren't there last night because they are racing for a championship on Thursday, and these things can happen. So we were a little bit further back in the points this year. So we thought we'd shoot our shot on Tuesday night, and it was going pretty well until it wasn't. So
Mm, dang. Um, you mentioned about starting in the sport trucks. So, has your family always been involved in racing, or how did you initially get involved in racing?
yeah, my dad used to race at WIR back in the late '70s. He was in the sportsman division on the quarter mile. Once he got out of racing because he had kids like myself and couldn't afford to do it anymore. He helped Neil Moss and then Jim Poggle. And Jim Poggle raced the Budweiser car out of Kaukauna and unfortunately lost his life in 1997 in a qualifying accident. My dad was on his team. I was in the stands that day. Remember it like it was yesterday. But just growing up, I always wanted to race, and my parents were always super supportive of me racing. I just had to find a way to fund it myself because they weren't going to be able to help me with that portion of it. And got a job at McDonald's right when I was 14, making $4.25 an hour, and started saving so I could buy a sport truck and go racing. And kind of the rest is history from there. Just had great sponsors, supporters along the way, people that have helped us out and had some success behind the wheel, of course, too, which didn't hurt to kind of make those jumps up to the next level.
No kidding. And the number, was that an homage to someone that you love there in your family, or is that how did you come up with your number?
Yeah, I've gotten that question a few times before. I was a Ricky Rudd fan growing up. So Ricky Rudd was my guy in the number 10 Tide car. So I went with the number 10. I wanted to run the number 6 for in Jim's memory, but the 6 is actually retired out at WIR in his memory. So we couldn't run the number 6. A few years ago, we did a throwback paint scheme to pay tribute to him. We ran the 6 for opening night and then took it back off and put the 10 back on the car. So 6 is the number I would prefer to run in honor of Jim, but 10 was my next choice, being a Ricky Rudd fan growing up.
I love that. I can remember you had a car that had like a bowling theme on it. Or did you have a bowling sponsor? I can't remember what was it a bowling sponsor?
Yep, that actually played right into the number 10 too, because it was the 10th frame. So the number 10, the one had like a bowling pin and the zero had a bowling ball. And then we were able to put their logo on the side of the car. And I remember when Kyle Busch was up here in 2007 for a few races. We ran real hard with him at the Dixieland race. And then a few weeks later, we were at a special down in Madison and we were both in line to use the bathroom. And he's like, "Hey, you're that guy that has the bowling ball car, aren't you?" It was just kind of funny, like a guy like Kyle Busch, who's in the NASCAR ranks and stuff, remembers that. Like, so that's always kind of stuck with us because it was kind of a unique design and theme, and kind of pairing a sponsor with a number at the same time.
Yeah, I thought that was really brilliant too. And I've kind of got a marketing mind of my own in that regard. So you must have some marketing mind behind you or in yourself too, because you have a lot of sponsors. Obviously, you're drinking a Bush Light that was on your car. That's not an easy sponsor to land. You really got to deliver a lot of extra value, I'm sure, for somebody like that. But even beyond that, you have a lot of really interesting sponsors that you must really work to try to corral every year.
Yeah, it's kind of like a almost a full, I shouldn't say full time, but a full year round venture. A lot of people think that, hey, once the Oktoberfest hits, you guys have a break and you're not back at the racetrack till spring. That's really when all that work behind the scenes is going on. You're sending out, year end emails, thank you plaques and pictures, and really kind of gearing up for the next year. And I've been very fortunate to have a lot of sponsors that have been with me a long time, and most of them I consider personal friends at this point because they've been with us so long. A lot of them don't even make it out to the track every single week, but really the value that they add for them and their business is just seeing we're promoting the sport positively, even in nights where things don't go our way. We're trying to be upbeat about it, show we're having fun out there, and we're always game to mingle with the fans after the races and have a few cold ones, whether we win or finish last place. So that all helps. And, for a lot of years too, we've been very active in the community, trying to give back. And that's probably my proudest accomplishment in this racing venture altogether, is the money that we all raised as a racing community here in Wisconsin for Charlie Knuth and his family. the boy here in Darboy that had cancer, and it just started off with one little thing I put on the internet about raising money for that family, and I thought maybe we get a couple $100, and the next thing you know, the entire racing community rallied around that, and when it was all said and done, it was over $100,000. So nothing that I ever do in racing will ever top that. What we did for that family, and I think the sponsors also recognize that and appreciate that you're willing to give back, and it's not just always about getting another fast time and winning a feature. It's also about what you're doing to help others and help others in your community.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about Charlie. How did he touch your life?
So Charlie was a close friend of Patty from the Darboy Corner store. So Patty was one of our main sponsors on a race car, and Patty always had a jar up on the counter where people could put their extra change and stuff in to raise money for their family. And it was just one thing after another with Charlie with the medical stuff. He had a rare skin condition that caused his skin to basically blister nonstop. The entire community in this Fox Valley area would recognize the name Charlie Knuth because of the challenges he's been through, and a lot of kids that he went to school with, understanding the circumstances he had, and just all the things lined up against them. It was so great to try to work and help a family like that and help someone who was both a close personal friend of a sponsor that helped us, but then also attached to Darboy, Kaukauna, and the racing community as well.
That's amazing. That really says a lot about you. I mean, just as a person, right? And I think that people who are seeking sponsorships or even just seeking to make a difference in this world, I think you got to be real and authentic and care about others, right? And you check all those boxes, Andy. That's pretty amazing. You're a pretty cool dude.
Well, I appreciate it, and I've been pretty fortunate myself. My health and my family, everything's been very spot on and solid. So anytime we have the opportunity to give back, and we helped last year with the Toys for Tots. Using the race trailer to pile all the toys around the community and run it over to the donation center. Things like that. I mean, those are simple things we can do to volunteer our time that don't always require a huge financial commitment. It just requires finding out who to contact and how to get involved. And the more that stuff you can do. And obviously, guys like Levon and Ty Fredrickson, I mean, they're taking advantage of that too with the Quickie Development Program. And that's awesome to see as well.
I think more of us actually need to plug in more like that into the community to help out others. I think that would alleviate a lot of the strife that we have going on because at the end of the day, we're all very much alike and we all have a need for support from time to time. And man, I just really applaud what you're doing, Andy. I really do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And we're going to keep doing it because, it's definitely paid dividends, not only for promoting our team and marketing and all those sorts of things, but it's the own personal value that it adds to your life as well. Helping at the Salvation Army, Feeding America, or any of those places, you just feel so good about it when you leave. And the people who haven't done it before don't know what that feels like until you do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the car. Um, it's looking a lot like a crushed Bush Lights, and I'm sure you saw lots of pictures of it. I know QC Willie took a couple pictures. We'll share it here on the podcast too. I'm sure he'll be fine with us sharing it. He got a really good picture of the crushed can, if you will. It's going to take a lot to get that put back together, and it's not like your sponsorship dollars were designed to pay for putting two cars together this season. That's going to be a complete build, I gotta believe. Was there anything salvageable? I saw you were already tearing it down.
Yeah, we got to the shop about 9 o'clock this morning and just started taking things apart just to kind of assess it, see where you're at. Obviously, we knew tomorrow trying to get things ready was completely out the window. So it was more of a question of how bad is it really? Is there something we could put it back together and run some fall specials yet this year? Or is it something that, there's only 3 Thursday nights left in our weekly season. Do you just start building towards 2025 and call it a year? So that's kind of what this morning was all about. And Aaron Neverman, my crew chief, and my dad, Dennis, were out there with me this morning. And we were all in pretty good spirits. We were all joking around about just the amount of styrofoam that was everywhere. I mean, there's a giant basketball sized piece of styrofoam that's between the radiator and the nose screen, and we have no idea how it got in there because there wasn't anything broken on the front end that far to let something in there. So it just like it must have just like sucked in the sod and the styrofoam. It's just literally everywhere. So it's almost like just from the amount of grass and mud and styrofoam that you almost kind of have to strip things completely off just to get things cleaned first and foremost. But yeah, taking it apart, the body's completely trashed. I think that's pretty obvious, and majority of the interior and the dash as well. So now I guess at this point, it's kind of really just assessing what are your goals for next year? What are your plans for next year? What's most important to you to try to get car back on the track this year? There were some specials we were going to run at Norway Labor Day weekend, and then they have a fall shootout too. We've been at Fest the last 3 years, so it's kind of just weighing out: do we spend the time and money and try to rebuild this thing over the next couple of weeks to race for 3, or do we just kind of cut our losses and see if we can't get a jump on 2025 and start rebuilding it? But at this point, it kind of looks like either way, the car's got to come completely apart. We got to put it on the chassis jig. We got to see if the right side rail's straight, and then just make a decision from there. And the guys at Reed Racing Chassis, they're great to work with. We've been partnered with them for a few years, and I was already on the phone this morning with Dave Reed Sr. talking about it, sending pictures back and forth, and got a plan in place to get it stripped down and at least get it checked out, and then we'll kind of just take one step at a time there from there. So not the way we wanted to potentially end our 2024 season if it comes to that, but at the same time, these things happen in racing, and fortunately for us, in 26 years of racing, it hasn't come to this. We've been able to finish out every single year. So, I'm glad the car was built safe, and that's the most important thing. We'll take it apart. I was thinking about this too when I was driving back from the shop today. You could borrow a used body from someone and slap together this or that, or try to pull the right side frame rail straight or whatever it might be. But what are you going to do? Go out there and run 8th or 12th and struggle with it the rest of the year? Do you really want to do that? Is that really worth it? Right now we're sitting 5th or 6th in the season standings at Kaukauna. We're probably not in the title hunt anymore. Top 5 would mean the world to a lot of people, and I'm very appreciative we've been able to run top 5 many times, but we've also finished top 5 in points at Kaukauna 10 plus years. So at the same token, it's important, but it's also not the end all be all to pull your hair out and try to rush things back together and struggle. I'd rather put the car back on the racetrack fast, like the way it was last night at the start of the race, and go out there and kick some butt than just have a car out there, or maybe borrow my brother's old car just to be out there and be out there struggling. It's not in my blood, not in my DNA to just be happy with the status quo. We want to be out there and be competitive and race for wins.
Yeah, there's something to be said for doing something right, Yeah, I feel you on that. So let me ask you this. Now, we're obviously recording this on Wednesday, August 7th. This episode's going to be dropping on Tuesday, August 13th. So you might have more things in place by the time this episode gets out there. But I'm curious if somebody is listening and is thinking, you know what? I like that Andy Monday. I want to throw some support behind him. What's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you if they'd like to help you get things pieced back together and get back out on the track and be a sponsor?
Yeah, you can hit me up on any of the social media platforms. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Monday Motorsports Group is our team page on Facebook. Shoot me a message through Messenger. I'm happy to talk to anybody. I'm so appreciative of all the messages that I got today. I had to charge my phone twice just because of all the phone calls, all the texts. I would literally drive from here to the race car shop 5 minutes away, and I'd have another 14 messages. It was just insane the amount of people that reached out, and just so appreciative. So those are the best ways to get a hold of me, and definitely willing to entertain anything that anybody's willing to offer. whether that's to put something together yet for this year or look towards next year. So
Good, good, good. Now I just want to ask a couple more questions of you. When did you know that you wanted to race cars? How old were you? What's your earliest memory of being at the racetrack and knowing that I want to go fast, Daddy?
Oh boy. Well, my dad was on Jim's pit crew early 90s, so it had to be then. I remember being in the stands with my brother and we'd be messing around, throwing the football around, buying cotton candy, doing whatever. But then as soon as the super lates came on, we were right in our seats ready to watch and we'd pick cars, bet on races, all sorts of stuff. And I vaguely remember back then, probably 10, 12 years old, telling my friends and my brother that I'm going to be out there someday. I'm going to race. And it was kind of, yeah, right. How are you going to do that? I'll figure out a way to do that. And, obviously everybody's dream, like in racing, is to do it professionally, get to the NASCAR level, get to the truck level, like Ty, things like that. And as a little kid growing up, my goal was just to be out at Kaukauna. That was the moon to me. And then when I started in the sport trucks, super late model racing was the moon to me, so just being able to progress through those steps, get into a truck, figure it out, have some success, have some great people helping you, and then just kind of move through those ranks and be able to continue to stride. And, the pinnacle of racing accomplishments on the track for me was winning that track championship in 2017. My dad had been a Fox River Racing Club member for 40 years and never won super late model championship. So to deliver that with my dad, it's probably my favorite picture of all time. There's a picture of me and him on the front stretch with the trophy and the champagne coming out. That just meant so much to do that for him and just to see how proud he was. And to this day, we want to get back there. That's for sure, because that was a pretty special night, special year all around.
I bet. Oh my goodness. There's nothing like family in racing though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. My mom and dad are there every week. My brother races in the prolates. He won the feature last week. We pit next to each other, share equipment, work together. And then my sister also comes out to the track and she sponsors both of our cars. So, and unfortunately, I bashed up my car too bad last night. I have about, I don't know, a dozen or so family from out of state that came up in town for like a reunion this weekend, and they're all coming to the race tomorrow night. So hopefully Brian can repeat, and they might not see me out there racing, but it's so great to have the support of our family, and it's always been a family sport for us. That's for sure.
Do you remember your first win ever and what was it?
I do. So I never raced anything before until it was a sport truck. So my first year in sport trucks, my first feature win was at Dell's Motor Speedway, is what it was called back then.
Yeah.
We won the feature there. John Mightum, who might be watching this at some point, he had a clean sweep for the entire year sport trucks fast time feature win. And the last race was at Dell's Motor Speedway. He had fast time and we held him off and he finished second on the last race. He would have had a clean sweep for the whole year. So sorry, John, I ruined your perfect year, but that was my first feature win and I'll never forget
That's incredible. I love that. That's awesome.
it.
Very awesome. Well, Andy, I appreciate you taking time to chat with us. And again, this episode was recorded on Wednesday, August 7th, and it'll be dropping on Tuesday, August 13th. And once again, if people would like to get in touch with you to help you out to get the car put back together, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
I would say through Facebook. Find me. Obviously, you just search my name, Andy Monday. You can send me a message through Messenger, or you can find our race team page, which is Monday Motorsports, a Facebook group on there as well, and Instagram as well. If you want to shoot a message there, you can find me any of those ways. And yeah, more than happy to have a conversation and see where things go. That's for sure.
I can't say it enough how impressed I am with how you held yourself and handled yourself after that horrific accident in the Dixieland 250. You are a class act, Andy Monday.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And like I said before, if this was my sixth year racing, I don't think I would have handled that the same way. But on year 26, I've had enough adversity to know how to go through these situations, and we'll rebuild and we'll be back stronger next year.
Well, cheers to you If I had a bush light right now, I'd raise it in your honor.
I'll have to send you some peach because you asked how it was before we started. So I'm going to send you some so you can try
I would love that. Now, wait, you got to tell everybody because I asked you what is it like?
it.
Tell me about the peach bush light.
So the Bush Peach Light is obviously a little bit different acquired taste flavor for people that maybe don't like just your classic beer, but it's a great summer refreshing drink. They had the Bush Light Apple for a couple years. They retired that, and now this is their second year on peach. So if anyone hasn't tried one, they're stop by the trailer. Well, now maybe my trailer won't be there. Stop by Brian's trailer, and we'll have some in the cooler where you can try it. Lou Goss, who I believe has been on your show before, he's comes over and borrows them all the time. Borrows them, but yeah, it's kind of like a summer shandy or just a more smooth drinking summer type drink. If you're not looking to have a beer on a 90-degree summer day, it's a little more refreshing. So I'm kind of curious to see now. So they did apple for 2 years and now peach for 2 years. We know who they sponsor in the NASCAR Cup Series, who is what kind of farmer?
Watermelon, right?
So
Yeah.
is that on the docket for the next 2 years? That would be the question. If
Hmm.
we have a watermelon bush light coming,
I
I
bet you
should have
could.
asked Ross that. I got to do a meet and greet with him at the brewery in St. Louis at the Cup race. We were down there, so I should have asked him that question. I'm sure he's got
Well,
that before.
well, what was that like? Tell us about that experience with him.
That was pretty neat. It was kind of a last minute deal we had set up through our sponsor, which is Wisconsin Distributors here. They got us in, and we were able to chat for 5-10 minutes, and I was actually talking a lot of super late model racing with him because he had been running some races with the Rackley team and stuff. So that was pretty cool to talk to him about those sort of things. And then I showed him like a picture of my car, and he's like, "Oh, it's just like my car." And I'm like, "Yeah, we got the graphics from St. Louis here for Travis at TD Graphics, and he wrapped the card." And then we jokingly talked to him. He's like, if you want to come up here, we have a big Tuesday night race in August. You could hop right in this car and look just like your car, and you could run it. You let me drive it? Well, yeah, let's work something out. Obviously, nothing came together for it, but it was fun to speculate. But super cool guy, down to earth, and Ross's story where he was at in racing in the beginning to where he's at now is pretty cool. I mean, he talked about running a truck where they started the race with no pit crew, and the car owner told him it's full of fuel and you can run it till it runs out of gas. So he was at Chicagoland and he ran 65 laps and it ran out of gas, and he pulled it to the trailer and he's like, "This is where my NASCAR career is." And didn't think it was really going to come together. And now look where he is now. I mean, obviously the Hail Mary, Hail Melon, we'll call it, at Martinsville. That story and all that. It's just incredible to see where his career has gone. And now having one of the biggest sponsors in the sport, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, kind of inspirational to folks like yourself, maybe who want to keep achieving as well.
Absolutely. But I did it the wrong way. He rolled the wall to pass cars to get further ahead, and mine just went thud. You're done. Game over. On
Oh
iRacing,
man.
we can hit the reset button and get a new one, but not last night. That didn't work.
Oh, dang it. Well, I'm also glad too, by the way, Andy, that you got checked out thoroughly, and I hope you continue to listen to your body because you might start to feel things later on too. So don't ignore those aches and pains. Make sure you continue to get things checked out because that was a scary hit, very scary
Yeah,
hit.
I appreciate that, and I'll also lastly mention too the special thanks to everybody who reached out and offered cars for us to race tomorrow, run the blue race next week, finish out the season. Mickey Shalley, Mike Anthony, Mike Egan, Jerry Miller. The list goes on of people like, "Hey, just come get my car. You can run a Kyle Melton." And first and foremost, I am doing that. I'm listening to my body first, and I know hopping in somebody else's car tomorrow night is probably not in my best interest to do that. So we'll just kind of get ours apart, see where we're at, and kind of reassess what our plans are for the rest of the year. But no sense in rushing back in it 2 days after taking a lick like that one. My whole family is was pretty concerned last night, and one of the first people I called was my daughter when I got back to my trailer. She wasn't at the track last night, but obviously, when things like that happen and all the pictures flood social media, people find out pretty quick. So, just being able to talk to her and make sure everything was good on her end too, knowing that her dad was okay and
Yeah.
things were going to be still good. So, unfortunately, had a bad wreck 3 or 4 years ago where we got turned over on a roof kind of in the same corner, and she was there that night, so she definitely knows those things kind of can happen, but seeing dad get out of the car and being able to talk to her and stuff's important. So
Dude, that honestly really says a lot about you that was your first thought is to make sure that your family knew that you were okay, especially the family that wasn't there. Again, Andy, you are just a top-notch, total class guy, man. I really appreciate you taking time to join on the Racing Nuggets podcast. You're a good guy.
absolutely, thank you, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and we'll send you some Busch Light Peach, and we'll probably see you at a track, maybe behind the wheel or maybe not. We'll still be at the races and enjoying it. Still plenty of racing left to go this season.
You bet. Good luck to you, Andy.
All right, thank you so much.